Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day. We're going to be jumping into the SCP universe. We're going to check out an SCP video from a new channel that I haven't checked out before. This has been a request by one of my YouTube members. We're going to check out the horror of SCP-2317, the Devourer of Worlds by Hidden Zapiria. I think that's how it's spelled, pronounced, whatever. But yeah, links will be down below as always in the description to the original video without my comment or interaction, and to Hidden Superior's channel. I think that's how it's pronounced, X-R-I-A, Superior. Yeah, so interested to check out this video, see some content from a new channel, and get their perspective on the SCP universe. So yeah, just jump into the video here. Check it out. Climb up and let's go.
Buried deep within the SCP Foundation's hyper-secure intranet archives is something so horrifying the O5 Council live in a constant fear of the hopefully forever hypothetical scenario in which they're informed of its containment breach.
Hypothetical
The Council
scenario,
have bore witness to some of the most mind-bending horrors and terrifying entities even the deepest of nightmares couldn't create.
It's very true. Like, I've said this numerous times throughout various videos, like, the reality of the SCP universe, and, you know, for those who are privy to a lot of creatures and anomalies that are in the SCP universe and the things that could happen, anxiety and panic attacks would be the norm. I'm just saying.
And yet, all pale in comparison to this. SCP-2317.
Interesting.
The first identification of SCP-2317 was in the form of a wooden door and door frame that was originally constructed as a basement door for a...
Would I rather live in the SCP world or the 40K world? Honestly, probably the 40K world. Just because, like, for every person that, you know, is in the... I guess it would also depend on, like, what faction would you want to be. I would assume we'd be considered, you know, being humans, right? But so if we're going, like, with being humans, I would say 40K, just because for every person that ends up being, you know, an Imperial Guardsman, and for all the bad stuff and all the, you know, factory hive worlds and whatnot that are out there that are terrible and life is terrible, there's also, you know, just as many worlds where life is good. They've never seen war. They don't know anything about chaos, and, you know, they just live normal human lives doing whatever, you know? So, I mean, I feel like you would probably overall have a better chance of a normal life in the 40K universe than you would, you know, in the SCP world. But I could be wrong, you know? It seems like there's more world-ending scenarios that happen more often in the SCP universe, and the SCP universe being reset, you know, compared to, like, the 40K. That would be my reasoning. Anyway.
Witness to some of the most mind-bending horrors and terrifying...
Right, yeah, and at least in the 40K universe, there's a chance of you becoming something greater, having, you know, potential status, whether you become, you know, get chosen to be an Astartes aspirant, or, you know, something, an officer in the Astra Militarum, or, you know, maybe some kind of just person of official prominence, or a scholar, or whoever, you know, at least you have, yeah. I feel like you just have more of a chance of somewhat of a normal life in the 40K universe, but, right.
Terrifying entities even the deepest of nightmares couldn't create, and yet all pale in comparison to this. SCP-2317.
Alright. What is 2317 about here?
The of SCP-2317 was in the form of a wooden door and door frame that was originally constructed as a basement door for a 19th century Massachusetts brownstone townhouse.
Interesting.
It was discovered by an unknown individual in 1922 and is currently stored in Containment Area 179. Through the door is a Keter-class entity, if it can even be called that, and thus is almost impossible to actually contain, even with the most extensive and complex containment protocols. Truth be told, we can't truly contain this thing because we have no idea what it is or how it works. I mean, it breaks all agreed upon.
That's kind of fascinating, right? I mean, there's not... I was going to say there's not really a ton of SCPs that I know of where the Foundation really just has, like, no true understanding of it or how to contain it. So I could see why this one would be, like, considered pretty terrifying if that's the case.
Laws of physics, space, and matter that we've become so accustomed to, because through this door is an entirely different reality, and contained within that reality are horrors beyond our comprehension. Upon stepping through this door, you find yourself on a salt pan spanning several kilometers in radius. Whether this salt pan extends further or if any other biome exists beyond it is currently unknown thanks to the Foundation's extremely limited exploration of this reality. On the salt pan, 10 meters in front of the door, are 7 marble pillars arranged in a circle 10 meters in diameter. These pillars, labeled SCP-2317-A through G, are 1 by 7 meters in size and appear to be adorned with engravings, a series of intricate, almost sacred-looking bas-reliefs in an art style that doesn't correspond with any known modern, historic, or even prehistoric civilization that we know of. Upon further investigation, via seismic analysis, it seems as though the marble pillars, in fact, extend 200 meters below the surface of the salt pan and into what is classified as SCP-2317-H, a spherical space which is 100 kilometers in diameter that
Interesting.
connects to each pillar, and is also crafted from the same marble stone that was used to build them. And contained within this almost chamber is SCP-2317-.
Wasn't this kind of like brought up somewhat in the Montauk House SCP story that we went over, and it was kind of like they kind of like crossed over and bridged like the Scarlet King with this entity, if I remember correctly.
K, the entity.
Gotcha.
A gigantic human-like creature estimated to tower over 200 kilometers tall when stood up, with horns resembling tree branches sprouting from its head. It appears to lack a lower jaw, and its body is covered in millions of overlapping plate-like scales. But embedded within the entity's back are 7 extremely heavy hooks, each one attached to an equally heavy chain made of some sort of foreign substance that we don't know, with each chain connected to the lower end of one of the 7 marble pillars. However, the Foundation currently faces a major problem. As of the filing of this report, of these 7 support structures that were keeping the entity in place, 6 of the chains have broken, and only 1 remains intact.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this was part of the Montauk House one as well, and they were trying to like interweave this entity and Scarlet King as like one creature. I'm pretty sure. Anyway.
And so we'd better talk about how we're trying to actually contain this thing. We're currently carrying out operations, so to speak, within SCP-2317. I mean, if we don't at least try and keep it contained, then nothing else that we do here at the Foundation will matter. SCP-2317, the door and its frame, are currently stored in a reinforced 3-meter cubed containment chamber, with armed guards in place at all times to ensure nobody gains unauthorized access. All personnel assigned to 2317 are rotated out for a month of psychological counseling after 2 months on site, and must undergo heavy psychological testing before being cleared to enter the site. To have anything to do with SCP-2317 investigation and containment, an individual must score at least 72 points on the Milgram obedience examination, be be unmarried, have no offspring, and express nothing but total unwavering loyalty to the Foundation. On site, all individuals assigned to SCP-2317 are issued concealing helmets with integrated voice changers to protect their identity, and no on-site staff may remove these uniforms in the presence of other staff members at any time. All off-duty hours are to be spent alone in private quarters. Identities must remain obscured. And this brings us to the ritual. Through investigation of ancient texts that were retrieved when SCP-2317 was initially contained, researchers have discovered that the engraved marble pillars are used in some sort of sacrificial ritual at the solar noon of each day, when the sun reaches its apex above SCP-2317. This ritual is used to contain and pacify the entity until its chains can be repaired and reattached. The ritual itself has been given the codename Procedure 220 Calabasas and has gone through a number of iterations. Initially, a Class D individual, who was likely a death row inmate that was forcibly recruited by the Foundation, was assigned to SCP-2317 each month to carry...
You know, a lot of these graphics here look like they're from some kind of SCP game. It's giving me Half-Life 2 vibes, I'm not gonna lie. Or just Half-Life vibes in general.
Out the
I could actually see like Half-Life, you know, that whole story of Half-Life, whatever, being an actual SCP facility. That whole thing with Black Mesa and whatnot. Interesting.
Calabasas ritual. It was initially imperative that the Class D was a convicted murderer. A Foundation staff member with level 3 clearance was also assigned to the ritual.
I wanted Class Ds that were actually convicted murderers to sacrifice to this. Interesting.
To monitor it and the Class D at all times.
Yeah.
And following the ritual, the Class D would be returned to their holding cell. Any attempt they made to escape, either in our reality or out into the salt pans of 2317, would be met with the triggering of their explosive collar. However, Procedure 220 Calabasas was later revised, swapping the Class D individual out for a staff member with level 4 clearance. This level 4 individual would take the role of the Class D in more ways than one. All personnel below level 3 security clearance are still told that this individual is a Class D, but everyone involved with the ritual is informed that they are in fact a level 4 clearance staff member, and thus should not be terminated in the event that they disobey orders or act awry. So, the ritual. To be conducted, it requires 2 armed security personnel with level 3 security clearance or higher, referred to as the guards, 1 Foundation personnel with level 4 clearance or higher,
right, we got
referred
that.
to as the celebrant, and 1 genuine Class D personnel, referred to as the assistant. It then also needs a live chicken, an obsidian knife, a silver aspergillum and aspersorium, both filled with 500 cc's of holy water that has been blessed by a priest of Abrahamic faith, and a 1 kiloton nuclear device.
It's interesting that it wants holy water specifically blessed by a priest of the Abrahamic faith. That to me strikes me as interesting, that it has to be one specifically from the Abrahamic faith. I wonder why that is and what those kind of implications are. Are they trying to say this Devourer of Worlds actually is like potentially the, you know, what would be considered Satan or the devil, you know what I mean? And so that as part of the ritual, it has to be holy water from a priest of the Abrahamic, you know, faith. Keep it at bay. And then obviously, yeah, we just gotta have a nuke with us just in case things go wrong. Just, you know, just a little pocket nuke.
The last resort. All involved with the ritual move through the wooden door into the realm of SCP-2317 and make their way to the pillars. The assistant enters the ritual site first, followed by the celebrant, followed by the guards, who ensure the site is locked down at all times, maintaining situational awareness and being prepared to cover a retreat through the door if the worst comes to worse. The celebrant begins the ritual by walking around the pillars counterclockwise, scattering the holy water from the aspergillum and aspersorium toward the center of the ritual site with every other step. Upon completing 1 circuit of the site, the celebrant scatters holy water over the head of the assistant while reciting the following phrase: 7 seals, 7 rings, 7 thrones for the Scarlet King.
Yeah.
The celebrant then moves away from the assistant, who takes the obsidian
So even in this, it's still referring to him as the Scarlet King. Interesting.
knife and uses it to sacrifice the chicken. The chicken's blood is then drained and mixed with the holy water, and that mixture is then scattered by the assistant in the same fashion as it was by the celebrant, except the assistant has to walk clockwise around the ritual site. After one circuit of the pillars, the assistant walks.
So, like, I wonder then if this, like, because again, going off of the Cactus Verse lore, right? The Davites separated the Scarlet King's body and his spirit and sealed it away. So could this essentially be the Scarlet King's physical body, and they sealed it away in this alternate reality with this? And so they have to keep doing this ritual to appease Scarlet King's body. And then the Montauk ritual that the SCP is doing with the Seventh Bride is what's keeping the Scarlet King's spirit sealed. So there's actually 2 different rituals that have to be done to make sure that the Scarlet King isn't revived and made whole again. Kind of a situation like that, right? Personal theory is that it isn't Scarlet King one of his sons. I mean, because yeah, like, it could be one of his sons for sure. It could also be a situation where, like, each one of his children are a piece of the whole of the Scarlet King, and once all of them are released, they could be combined to bring the Scarlet King, you know, reforge its body or whatever for its spirit to re-enter, kind of a thing. Could be something along those lines, or it could be that, again, this could be his physical body, and there's 2 different rituals that are keeping the physical and the spirit at bay and separate. I don't know, but it's interesting to think about, right?
To the center of the ritual site and pours the remaining mixture onto a discolored patch of salt and sand in the center, while reciting the phrase, "Blood for the old gods, water for the new king." All materials are then gathered up and personnel return.
It is also interesting that they have that phrase there, right? Blood for the old gods, water for the Scarlet King, right? That's what it said?
Water for the new king.
For the new king, okay. That does kind of invoke the idea that there were other gods that were around even before the Scarlet King, though, right? You know, blood for the old gods, water for the new king. Interesting.
All material.
Love that theory, though, that his sons are in fact fragment pieces of him and they come together to form the whole king. Right. I mean, it would make sense, right? Each one of the brides is supposed to give birth to a piece of the Scarlet King. And once all 7 pieces are out, you know, and in our reality, they could form together to actually create the whole of the Scarlet King.
Materials are then gathered up and personnel.
And that's why, like, each piece of that, you know, represents, like, I had a thought in my brain and it went away literally as I was talking. Like, each piece of them represents, like, kind of like a piece of emotion or something, I guess, you know, like 682 represents his hatred for life and humanity, and then another piece could be, you know, the Scarlet King's lust for power, or, you know, something like that, his want for something, you know, and something along those lines, you know what I mean? That's just what I'm kind of getting at. Like, each piece could also represent more than just, you know, a part of his physical body. Because, like, again, in Admonition, 682 was also, like, an actual manifestation of, like, a concept, the concept of hatred, you know? So it could also be that each of these 7 pieces are, like, manifestations of concepts that make up the Scarlet King, kind of a situation, you know what I mean? So, and each one of them represents, I guess, kind of like a different emotional piece of that as well. What's up, Cushman? How you doing, brother? So yeah, I guess we're learning about some other potential Scarlet King stuff here with the Devourer of Worlds. Anyway.
And sand in the center, while reciting the phrase, blood for the old gods, water for the new king. All materials are then gathered up and personnel return through the door to the containment site, and the door is closed. Based on current understanding, failure to correctly perform Procedure 220 Calabasas may result in an XK class end of world scenario, defined loosely as a religious apocalypse in which our reality would be utterly decimated. Should anything go wrong with the ritual, the SCP-2317 realm, or, God forbid, the entity, all personnel are to immediately return through the door, closing it behind them. The containment chamber will immediately be locked down and a level 2 emergency declared and reported to the O5 Council. Further instructions will be—
Well, and I mean, like, it sounds like that was part of the safety procedure for sealing this thing away anyway, right? Is like, they took it to a different dimension and or created a whole new dimension / reality just to contain this thing on this world, and then they imprison it behind those pillars. So then, like, if the pillars ever get broken and it gets released from that prison, it can still be sealed in whatever that dimension or reality is.
Be provided to on-site personnel according to Emergency Order Zachariah, and may result in the detonation of an on-site nuclear warhead. As of now, these measures are purely hypothetical, and we hope for them to remain that way forevermore. When the entity was initially discovered, 3 of its chains were still intact. However, when studying the 2 that broke over the following years, our correlation analysis has yielded some terrifying revelations. It appears as though the breaking of a chain correlates with extreme disaster or loss of life in our reality. The breaking of the 5th chain in correlated directly to in our world, and the breaking of the 6th chain in also seemed to coincide with a much more severe event which resulted in the death of 2 million people. The records show that each successive event that occurs in our world when a chain is broken drastically—
I do have to say, right, like, just because, like, it's interesting that they do the redacted stuff. Like, I get it, because that's, like, for you to devise what happened and for your own headcanon. But I'm still the type of person where I just want to know. You know what I mean? Like, just tell me what happened. It does get a little annoying after a while when, you know, they keep having these things where they just X out part of the story. It's like, I just want to know. Just tell me, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I you know.
Increases in lethality, and thus we can only predict that should that final chain break and this entity be freed, it would result in an XK class end of world scenario. As of now, this is all the Foundation can share about SCP-2317. Its containment is ongoing, as is research in how to better understand its realm, the entity, and how to ensure all of this remains under our control. And with that said, it's time for me to sign off.
Oh, a lot left. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, here we go. Now we're getting the real juicy bits. Impersonating members of your council is punishable by immediate death. If you have entered this log information error, you're now 10 seconds to exit the vicinity for the deployment of lethal, visual, cognito hazard, otherwise interpersonal authorization key phrase. Please note that failure to enter the proper key phrase within 60 seconds resulted in deployment of mobile task force to your location. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their party. Because I would not stop for death. Death finally stopped for me. Oh, we're 0513, huh? Special
SCP
containment procedures irrelevant. Interesting.
2317 is a primeval entity known as the Devourer of Worlds.
Stop
As an
redacting my
individual
shit,
with
brother.
O5 Council clearance,
Like I'm 0513 here. Why am I still getting redacted?
I can access the deepest of the Foundation's archives, the information that we keep hidden from even those with the highest of regular clearance. And it is with that clearance that I am able to access the scriptures of the Ericasians, an ancient civilization from the antediluvian era who are now extinct, but inhabited our world between the biblical fall of man and the Great Floods. The Ericasians are one of the Foundation's most tightly kept secrets. They were an ancient civilization of mystics that warred with gods and their followers, including the entity, the Scarlet King.
So, I mean, if that's the case, right, then that would also mean that they were enemies of the Davites, probably of Yaldabaoth, maybe the Broken God too. They might have been enemies of Meccan if they warred with gods. Again, this would be more fascinating stuff. I could see this fitting into, like, the early ancient time Cactus verse lore. Maybe these would be, like, one of the early, you know, human civilizations or whatever that play in with the children from the first man or whatever.
According to their codex that was discovered at the same time as SCP-2317, the Ericasians were the ones who initially captured and somehow imprisoned the Scarlet King in 1894 BCE. An excerpt from their codex goes as follows. And then Keshbeth led his army of 10,000 into the realm beyond the clouds, and there did they do battle with the Devourer. May his name remain forever unremembered. And then Keshbeth and his 10,000 did craft 7 cunning chains out of the bones of Jaspatar, 7th bride of the dread Devourer. May his name remain forever unremembered. And bound him to within the pearl of the father of oysters, he who dwells under the mirror of salt, in the real under the sea. And Keshbeth ordered that the gates to the far country be sealed forever, lest the dread Devourer, may his name remain forever unremembered, find its way back to our world. In the 19th century, the Society of the Golden Arrow, which was an occult society led by Russian occultist and mystic Maria de Naglowska, were the first since the Ericasians to discover how to enter the realm of 2317.
Fascinating.
But we don't know how, nor do we know their motivations for doing so. When this society dissolved,
I mean, they very well could just be an offshoot of the Children of the Scarlet King, or maybe that's where the rise of the cult of the Scarlet King started, you know, was from her. That could be an interesting little tie-in as well.
and the founder of the SCP Foundation took possession of the door used to enter the realm, the first 4 chains had already fallen into disrepair, and the Foundation bankrupted itself several times, desperately trying to repair them. The Foundation's most elite researchers are attached to SCP-2317, and work is ongoing to reconstruct those chains, but it seems as though our efforts are fleeting. Researchers believe...
You would think that they would want to leave instructions near the ritual site on how to repair the chains, right? You would think that would be a bit of an oversight. You would think that over time they would know that this entity would eventually weaken the chains and start to break free. So you would want to have instructions there on how to reforge or repair them. You would think, right?
Final containment failure is certain to occur.
But I guess also that information could be used to destroy the chains, right? Like if you have information and knowledge on how they're crafted and made and what they potentially could be crafted and made out of, that should give you an idea of how to break them in the first place.
Within the next century, as soon as in the next 30 years, because the chains were built from the bones and sinew of another of the Devourer species, all of whom appear to be extinct. All attempts to repair, replace, or even rediscover the methods of creating these chains have proven fruitless. We are currently researching some sort of alternate containment plan, but it's highly unlikely that anything besides more of the same chains will be able to keep the Devourer from entering our reality.
If the chains were made from the bones of the same species of the Devourer, could you not just go down there where the Devourer is and take bones from it in its prison and reforge it with its own bones?
Until the inevitable occurs, our main threat is internal despair or panic within the Foundation. If word spreads of what we are failing to contain, well, that 30-year deadline starts knocking on tomorrow's door. So, in order to stem despair and panic and maintain morale, we've devised and implemented a false containment procedure, named Procedure 220.
I mean, I'm not saying that wouldn't be, difficult. I'm not saying that's going to be easy, but that's all you got to work with. That's all you got to work with. And it's at least still in prison, so I would think it would be worth a try. If the only way that these chains are broken are through massive casualty events on our realm, either through wars or natural disasters or whatever, where hundreds of thousands or millions of people will die, then it should be safe to go down there, you would think, and take bones from it, if it is at all even possible. I mean, right? Like, who knows if we even have the capability of being able to pierce its scales, skin, whatever, to get them.
20 Calabasas, in order to give the Foundation staff the false illusion that we have this thing under control when we most certainly do not. Calabasas has been intentionally designed to incorporate familiar elements of ritualistic magic, religion, mysticism, the occult, Foundation containment procedures, and to also appeal to almost the common institutional meme regarding the effectiveness of thermonuclear weapons in destroying paranormal entities. In reality, this nuke would likely be less than a scratch to the Devourer. Calabasas was designed to be a believable countermeasure to ease the anxiety among staff, whilst we, at the top, frantically search for any kind of solution to the terrifying inevitability that we appear to be facing. Preparations are already underway to ensure the survival of the human race should that final chain break and an XK-class scenario begin, but given how the mere existence of 2317 breaks every rule that humanity has set in place, tested, and agreed upon over the last 1,000 or so years, I don't exactly have confidence in the success of these contingency measures. Regardless, these measures were approved by the unanimous vote of the Overseer Council on...
Alright, I guess that's all we get. I guess that's all we get.
So, that is the horror of SCP-2317, the Devourer of Worlds. I really hope you guys enjoyed the first of many new SCP videos to come. My editor, Lil Thomas, did a fantastic job nailing the atmosphere of this, so expect more to come. If you did enjoy it, then please make sure you show some support down below with the likes and the comments, and of course, if you're new around here,
yeah, give him a like and a sub if you enjoyed the video. Check out the man's channel for his content. But yeah. I did like the artwork and the various pictures, switching between like some old black and white, real-time, I was gonna say real-time footage, not real-time footage, but, actual, videography, black and white stuff, showing the nuclear destruction, and then going into the various artwork of the SCP from various games, which again, had a very Half-Life feel. So yeah, I liked it. Good job. Almost like a redaction or just a personal attack. Yeah, it is, dude. It really is. It is a personal attack on my curiosity. I want to know, okay? I have a right to know, okay? I have the clearance. Stop redacting, my dude. Yeah, great video. Great video by Hidden Zapira. I think that's how it's pronounced. And yeah, links will be down below in the description to his channel and to this video. So if you liked it, be sure to go give it a like. And if you enjoy his content, be sure to hit the sub button on his channel. If you'd like to join us when I do these reactions live, glad to have you guys come in and hang out and join us as we, you know, go through and do these videos. There's a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube members benefits and tiers that I offer. So yeah, check that stuff out. But good video. Like I said, a lot of this kind of was brought up in Von Talkhouse video, as well as the Tufto's proposal for the Scarlet King. So a lot of this stuff had kind of already gone over. It's interesting that it is tied to like various kind of mass killing events seem to be what break the chains. You know, that's kind of new information, right? Like the idea that I would assume some of the redacted stuff that they were talking about were wars, various major wars where, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people were, you know, killed because he is the Devourer of Worlds, right? Like, I would assume that that would give him strength to break those chains. And if enough of those things happen, that, you know, it gets freed, kind of a situation. But I would also like to learn more about, again, the ancient civilization, the Arakesh, that, I think that's what it was, right? That, you know, went to war with these gods and imprisoned them. That would be a civilization that would be fascinating to learn more about, because obviously if they have the manpower, I guess maybe the technology or the thaumaturgical power and capability to imprison an entity that's supposed to be as powerful as the Scarlet King, that would be pretty much a major player in the ancient world, right? And that would also, I guess, you know, being that, like I said, the Scarlet King was the god of the Davites, and the Davites were a major faction during that time, they would also probably be an enemy of the Davites, etc. So, I mean, I don't know, it would just be another interesting ancient faction to learn more about. And as I've said numerous times, ancient history, stuff like that is stuff that always fascinates me, lore and mythology, etc. So it would be just fascinating to learn more and expand more on the ancient SCP world and lore, you know, with another ancient faction that's up there with the Davites and the Sarkics and the Meccans. So yeah, we're calling on text and Tuss's proposal isn't SCP-001, but then Depeche cuts in saying it changed because people kept saying Devourer is the king, thus making it so. It could also be the redacted events of reference to the births of the children of the Scarlet King. The brides give birth before Montauk figured out the procedure. That could be too. But he also mentioned, though, that like the last one that happened occurred alongside some kind of major event that happened in our reality where 2 million people died. I assume that it's probably something that's tied into either natural disasters and or wars, right? Where mass deaths have happened. So, but it could be. It could also be tied in where all of those things could be correlations, where one of the births happen, and those births could be tied into natural disasters and or wars that get sparked, that lead to the deaths of millions of people, that then break one of the chains, kind of a thing. They could all be tied together. Sure, the redactions are there to prevent dangerous events from happening. I'm sure. But yeah, great video again. Hidden Superior links down below in the description to all his stuff, so check him out. Be sure to like his video if you enjoyed it. Excuse me. And check out his channel and check out his content. And give the man a sub if you enjoy it. So yeah, it's gonna do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this video of mine, consider leaving a like and a sub. It helps me and the channel grow. Greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to stop in and watch it. So yeah, hope you have yourselves a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next one.